And we are live. We're back. Not a great day for me. Obviously, we'll get into the news, but it's been it's been an interesting Christmas Christmas Eve, NFL Sunday, bish. The fantasy NFL punt final is set. But first off, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm enjoying myself. The first time I've had a warm Christmas, so yeah, I've come away for the week, and it's been good. A bit different, but the NFL's been on. I've been in the hotel room watching the NFL, so I've had a great Christmas. Enjoyed plenty of games, and I've ate well.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I've not. I've got to be honest, Bish. I've never done a morning a holiday for Christmas. I think that's on my bucket list. I'm a bit jealous of you, to be honest. Like you said, the weather. I don't mind when it snows, but when the weather's like it is here, just rainy and windy, there's not much. I think you're doing it the right way. But let's get into it, Bish. Like, as I said, the fantasy final is set. I'll start off with my matchup first. It was me versus Scott Tag Taylor, the punt versus the punt, and Tag comfortably won. You posted it on the socials without messaging me, and I was devastated because he absolutely tanked me. 30 points of difference. Tag scored 110 points. I scored 80. His stars were definitely CeeDee Lamb's performance against Miami, even though they lost. He had Justin Tucker, who got him 16 points, and I think, Bish, it was more my team didn't do very well. My top scorer was Kyren Williams, my consistent man I traded for again, holding the ship for me with 16 points. But what did you think of the matchup, Bish? How did you lay it? And
yeah, well, I obviously watched the Thursday night game, being the Rams, and it was a good start. Obviously, he had Tag had Chris Olave, you had Kyren Williams, and they went toe for toe, and pretty close. I think Olave just got maybe 2 points more, so it was a close start. But I think the biggest one is George Kittle had a pretty massive game, and Justin Tucker, obviously, then 16 points from your kicker. To 6 from Bass for you, so there's a 10-point swing there. But I think the biggest one that probably hurt a lot of people is DJ Moore. In a nice matchup, his first reception, he gets his ankle twisted underneath the tackler, and it hurt me in a final. It cost me, but I think it's a massive difference if you compare that to, as you've just said, to CeeDee Lamb 22 points, Olave got him 18 points. I mean, Devontae Smith had a good game for yourself, just under 16 points. But yeah, I think that's the big swing there. DJ Moore goes down, and then Justin Tucker racks up 16 points. So tough, but it's the way it is sometimes, isn't it? We enjoy it, but it can be cruel at times.
And we'll just go on to the other matchup. We've got. Wow, 2 massive scoring games there, Bish. Yeah, do you take us through them? I took us through my ones.
Yeah, we got Matty Crimes, Group 7, 148 points, and Isaac Farrell 125. So both big scores, and I'm just looking to see both quarterbacks. Dak Prescott for Matty Crimes, 18 points. Josh Allen 20, just under 26. McCaffrey, a big game for Crimesy, but I think the biggest one is Amari Cooper had a franchise record setting game, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion. So he's racked up 46 points there for Crimesy, and along with Barkley in his flex, just under 18 points. So I'd say Amon-Ra as well had a big game, 22 points. So. They were the difference makers. Isaac, his kicker, got 22 points. Just Jason Sanders for the Dolphins, and Justin Jefferson got 23 points. But there was a few. I think Drake London had a quiet game, and Jacoby Myers had a quiet game. So yeah, they were the big differences there. But I mean, 46 points from Amari Cooper is he's definitely gone down as a hero to some people. And he there advancing you to the finals or winning you some leagues.
Yeah, 46 points is, like you said, unbelievable. The game were crazy, wasn't it? He just kept, Joe Flacco just kept looking Amari Cooper's way, and Cooper kept delivering some of the play, and he had a lot of yards after catch as well. So yeah, he did brilliantly, and like you said, won. I think many people, many leagues, and got him to the final. So that's it. The final set, the punt first year special is Matty Crimes versus Scott Tag Taylor. It's going to be a matchup for the ages, Bish. I think it's going to be both teams, both players. Sorry, have got unbelievable teams. We'll just give a quick breakdown. We've got Dak Prescott versus Gardner Minshew. So you'd say Dak's probably got the edge there. Crimesy's team's unbelievable. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, St. Brown, Aquamius St. Brown, not Aquamius, Amon St. Brown, and Amari Cooper, Sam Laporta, Barkley. How's he got such a good team, Bish? I'm going through that there. How's he got a good team?
He drafted Jonathan Taylor, and I think he sort of spoke about it in previous shows. He sat on him because he got off to a bad start. I think he was 0-2 to start with, pulled it back to 2-2. So he was out Jonathan Taylor for a while. He's made he got Barkley from himself in a trade. He picked up Sam Laporta, pretty good signing there. He drafted McCaffrey. I think he drafted second or third. He got McCaffrey. So yeah, he's been patient with his team and put together quite a nice one, to be honest. And Tag, I think Tag's similar. He's obviously done quite a lot of trades. He's got Gardner Minshew, James Cook, Bijan Robinson, Chris Olave, CD Lamb, George Kittle. He's got currently Kenneth Walker starting in his flex position, and then Tucker and the Colts. So obviously Tag lost Justin Herbert, which has obviously hindered him quite a bit. So he's got Minshew starting at the minute, and his other quarterback option is Ridder. So it looks like he's going to go with Minshew. And he's lost Jalen Waddle to looks like an injury as well. So, he's still competitive, still both looking at, well, Grimesy, according to the app, has got a 10-point advantage, 117 to 107 predictions. But I think it's going to be a close one, and it's a bit fitting because these two have started a little rivalry in the season. And, they've both found their way to the final. So one of them will be crowned the punt champion. So, yeah. Looking forward to seeing it unfold and the banter on the chat.
Yeah, it's starting now. They actually come together. I think they're both winning. They're both confident. They actually come together to slaughter everyone else. So we'll remember that. We'll remember that for next year because it's fantasy football. And if they do it 2 years in a row, fair enough. But just let them know if I'm up there next year, I'm getting stuck straight in. That's all I'm saying now. But Bish, we'll get into it. A couple of big storylines and none more than the injury report, Bish. I think I'll let you go first. You've got a massive one to tell us.
Yeah, I think a massive one is TJ Hawkinson, the tight end for the Vikings. It's been reported that he's torn his ACL and MCL at the weekend, and he caught a ball, turned around, and he got a low hit straight to the knees, and you sort of seen him hobble off, and he didn't look good. And in a position that is, as we've talked about all year, is very thin at the top end of it. Him being one of the better ones, it's crippled. It certainly crippled my team in a semi-final at the weekend, and I'm sure it'll hurt some if they manage to get through to the final this week. So, can you replace him? I'm not sure you can replace someone of that caliber. If I'm honest, it's just a case of looking at the waiver wire and trying to pick up the best streaming option you can. So good luck with that one. You just got to hope the rest of your team can pick up those points around him.
Yeah, it's always a nightmare getting injuries this late in the season for fantasy football, isn't it? Because it's someone of TJ Hawkinson's caliber, like I said, with how good he's been this year, he'll have dragged many people into them finals. Tight end, such a tough position to have a good player in. You're seeing the likes of Kelsey even get worse this year. So there's not as many. You had Sam Laporta having a bad game, so there's not as many good players whatsoever. So to have a top three tight end on the season get injured on you going into the final, It's going to hurt and maybe hinder a lot of final winning things, but hopefully we've got one or two options for you later in the show. I've got my injury reports. I'm just going to go on both because I'm covering the quarterbacks. First one is Trevor Lawrence. He's got a sprained right shoulder. It's unclear whether he'll be playing this week. I think it's trending towards the no side. I think they'll be looking to get him fit and healthy for the playoff run. Or that's if they make the playoffs, actually. But the fitting healthy, so he might have to play, actually. I've just rejigged that, but I don't think it's trending towards a no from the news reports. But I think the Jags will be trying to get him on because they need some wins, don't they, Bish? And I think without Trevor Lawrence, it's going to be a tough run, a tough ask for the Jags to get into the playoffs without the starting quarterback at this late in the season.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, they're on a bad run, maybe 3, possibly 4 losses in a row now, and it's very tight. All at 8-6, and the Texans, the last week of the season, I think will probably settle the division, but you can't. I don't think they can rely on that and give Lawrence a week off to get right for that game. They probably need to attack each game as it comes now with the last 2, and if he's fit, he'll play. It's just whether they can. It is his throwing arm as well, so it's just whether they can get him through a game and to what limit it sort of limits his abilities. Is he good enough to play at 70%, or is it a case of no, we'll sit you down this week and we'll see what CJ Beathard can do for us?
Yeah, it's a big call. I think, like you said, most Jag fans will be wanting him in, but yeah, hopefully he's okay, and hopefully that we can get some good football, because I've seen bits of CJ Beathard, and without being too disrespectful, he's not the best backup quarterback in the league, I don't think. So it'd be a tough ask for the Jags, who showed so much potential in that mid-season run they had there. My next one's the man who got 4 interceptions in a game. The man who no one saw it coming. We've got Brock Purdy. I think many people thought, why has he not come back in? It was more of a scare, more of a bump. All indications that he should be ready for the game this weekend. So not that you've got loads of fears for Purdy after his performance, but he's been one of the most consistent, safe, other than again last week, safe quarterbacks in the league this year. And he'll be back at it for the 49ers next week after a tough game, a tough bump. But yeah, all reports are very positive that he'll be playing this upcoming weekend.
And you want him back this week because they're playing the Washington Commanders, who are ranked last against the quarterback. So you definitely want him back.
yeah, you do. Bish, have you got any other injury reports, or is that?
I'm going to throw in Jalen Waddle for the Dolphins. He actually left the game twice. He left with it looked like he got poked in the eye, came back, and then he made a catch, and it looked like he just tweaked his left ankle. And the sort of reports coming out that it's a high ankle sprain, and we know with high ankle sprains it's generally 2 to 4 week sort of injury. With 2 regular season games left, and they've actually secured the place in the playoffs now, it's potentially, I think we'll see him sit for the last 2 games of the season and be back for the playoffs. So, if you're relying on Jalen Waddle, that's going to be a blow to you. So it's just a case of seeing who else is. You can probably stream a good wide receiver if you need one, if you've not got one on your bench. So yeah, just having a look at what's available to you in your league.
And I think if you've got a team, I'm probably being harsh, Jalen Waddle here, but if you've got a team that's made it to the final, whatever, it's probably the semi-final or the final at this point now. If you've had Jalen Waddle, I don't think you've had to rely on him too much this year. He's not been the best player, so you've probably already got another option there. So I don't think it's a red alert like Hawkinson's was, but still, obviously for a lover of the game, he's still a brilliant wide receiver, and it'd be good to see him for our betting section back for that playoff run.
Yeah, that's it. And Tag's in the same boat. He's had him on his team this year, but he's had other players to fill in. So I'm sure he would have been possibly a flex option, but it might be. But it's looking likely that you won't have him available for your final.
Yeah, tough news. Into the next section, we've got the fantasy flops. I'm just going to rack it off with my fantasy flop. one of the men who caused me, one of the two, I think, players that caused me not to get in the final. I've got DJ Moore. Probably a bit harsh calling him a flop. It was more based on him picking up a knock and missing a large chunk of the game. He'd come back in later, but that's probably it didn't come to no avail because he had 3 receptions for 18 yards and 3.3 fantasy points. It's really had a good season. DJ Moore, he's had that great connection with Justin Fields, but been Justin Fields' main and nearly only outlet in the receiving work for Chicago, and he's really shown himself as being a top wide receiver in this league. And yeah, it very much hurt me. I think I needed a great game from DJ Moore. I didn't have the high-powered offense of some of the other teams that made it into the semi-final, obviously Tags, and I think I needed that consistent. I've got a very consistent team, and DJ Moore sadly let me down with that knock. So probably a bit harsh with him picking up an injury mid-game, but flop nonetheless with him only getting 3.3 points and knocking me out of the punts league. So I'm a bit sour, but DJ Moore makes my list, bitch.
Yeah, I feel your pain. I had Hawkinson and him in the same team, so yeah, I got a double whammy in a final last week. So, but yeah, he's like you said. Well, you've said it. He probably cost teams a place in the final. So yeah, hopefully he can. It's not serious, and he can get back in and play this week for those who need him this week.
Yeah, well, I don't have the same lovely sentiment you have. But yeah, nonetheless, if you're watching this thinking nervous, I think all reports are that he will be playing. So yeah, go get DJ Moore in, and hopefully he has a redemption game for if you ended up making it without still with him in your team. So yeah, big loss, DJ Moore. But take us into your fantasy flop, Blish.
My fantasy flop is Sam Howell, the quarterback for the Commanders. 0.24 points this week in the punt, and 56 yards, 2 interceptions, only 6 completions on 22 attempts, and he was hooked. They were 21-0 down against the Jets, and he was put on the bench. So I'm not sure. Again, many of you in your playoffs or in your semis, in your finals would have had him starting. But if you did, it's a cruel blow. That less than 1 point in fantasy from your quarterback it's a weak killer really. So yeah, not ideal. And to be honest, I think the position they're in, I don't think we see him for the rest of the year. Jacoby Brissett came in and played pretty well the last 2 weeks, so I think potentially we see Sam sit on the bench for the rest of the year.
I like that kind of counterproductive to what we've just said, but I kind of like the fact they stuck with him and give him another week. He was having, for the first half of the season, Bish, obviously they weren't getting the wins, but he was having a statistically pretty good season on a high power. He turned it into a high powered offense, and then for whatever defenses have noticed, he's just fell off a cliff. I feel quite bad for him. He's generally, there was lots of hope. People saying he's the quarterback, Washington's quarterback of the future. And yeah, last couple of weeks thrown, and then Brissett's come in and turned it back into that high-powered offense we saw early on in the year, 2 weeks in a row now. So yeah, I think Brissett's probably going to earn that job. He's been a brilliant backup quarterback throughout the years, probably one of the best backup QBs out there. So yeah, fair play to him, and hopefully he gives the Washington Commanders some hope going into the final couple of weeks of the season. I'll take you through my second fantasy flop. I've got Sam Laporta, the exact same points as DJ Moore, actually 3.3 points. Had 3 receptions for 18 yards, and yeah, again, someone who's been unbelievable this year. Someone who's probably around a semi-final team or maybe even a final team. He's dragged a lot of people. You can pick him up in the waiver wire, which was huge. So yeah, having this week Sam finally having his bad game is like I said, bad timing, but hopefully he turns up if you've got him in the final. 3.3 points, still got his receptions, and it tight ends, you're looking for them touchdowns, Bish, I think. So yeah, didn't get any touchdown, didn't get a touchdown, but still I think you can't be mad at him because he's been one of the top tight ends in the league, and he's single-handedly probably dragged a few teams into them semi-final spots anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And award winner on our fantasy award show. If you've not watched it, please watch that. In a market, as we've talked about, is very sparse. For those that took a gamble on him and have got him in the teams, unfortunately, it's come at probably the worst time being the fantasy playoffs. But he's you can probably excuse him a down week.
Yeah, I think you can. Take us through your second fantasy flop, Bish.
And just speaking of our fantasy awards, my fantasy floppies are actually flop of the season, and he's back. I'm sure he won't be sending us cigars in the post, but it's Devontae Adams. 0.9 points this week on Christmas Day. Those who were rostering him probably expecting a big game, and it just didn't come. One catch off 6 targets for 4 yards. He was covered by L'Jarius Sneed, who did a good job. And to be fair, the game script, the Raiders didn't complete a pass in 3 quarters. They ran up a massive two defensive touchdowns. They ran up a lead on the Chiefs, and then O'Connell didn't complete a pass for 3 quarters of the game. So yeah, it's just game script totally did him here. Just a non-factor in the game, and a cruel blow for those rostering him.
Yeah, like you said, I think it covers him that he won the award, that he was up there. So yeah, another bad week. I wonder what I'm more thinking for next season now. Where does he lie in rankings? Do they trade him? Does he move? How much does that affect? I guess it depends where he goes, but how much does that affect where he gets drafted for next year? Because he's not making unless he gets traded. He's not making my list. I think because he'll still probably be drafted fairly high, name value, still a number 1 wide receiver on a team, which is again, you're willing to take that risk, but I'm going to stay away from him next year. He's on the back end of 28 plus, getting older, and normally you see a downturn pretty hastily in the NFL once them wide receivers get past the age of about 27, 28.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think the biggest factor will be, like you just said, who the coach is. I think who the coaches will determine whether he stays on the team or not, and then sort of the quarterback situation. Obviously, they've started with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're now playing with the rookie Aiden O'Connell. So a lot of factors to think about before next year. But I certainly think he'll be down the pecking order in draft projections next year.
Yeah, certainly. Basically, any others that earn a notable mention, or is that our fantasy flops covered?
That's it for me. Just those 2 this week.
It was a pretty good week in fantasy. I think we'll have a few honourable mentions certainly in the top players of the week. Bish's breakouts. Take us through your first player, Bish.
I think the star of the week, and we spoke about him earlier, it's got to be Amari Cooper. 46 points he put up in the punt, half PPR, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 receptions, and a 2-point conversion. And it's actually a single game new franchise record for the Browns. So he just went off. Flacco was finding him. What can I say? If he's in your team, he's definitely won you the week. And he just had a magnet on his hands. A few touchline catches as well, where he's got his feet in. He just looked amazing. He looked class. So it's good to see. Joe Flacco has been loose with the ball. He's slinging it about, and Amari Cooper is he's come up big for those who rostered him in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, you've covered it well there. I really like Amari Cooper as a player. I thought he was good at Dallas. I don't think they give him the credit he deserved on Dallas. I don't think he's on his 3rd team now, and he's definitely found a home. I think with the Browns' offense under Joe Flacco. I don't think there've been many people, if anyone, ever saying that going into the season or even predicting it since. So yeah, Joe Flacco at quarterback, brilliant year, and really opened up Amari Cooper and showed what he can do talent-wise, because it's certainly there. He certainly does a lot. I'm happy he's getting the recognition with how well he's playing that he rightly deserves.
Nice.
I'll take you through my first player. Someone who I drafted in my other league, was very high on going into the game, Jahmyr Gibbs. 22 fantasy points. 15 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Actually had a fumble, so he could have scored a few more. But yeah, Gibbs, another great game. He's been really given the slate now, and basically these last 2 weeks, being running back free the last 2 weeks, and then even before that, from about the Baltimore game in week 7, I think he's been handed the keys over Montgomery. It's still been fairly even, but I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs going forward from this point on. Next season, Bish, I think we've got a top 5 running back going into the year with how good he's been in this in this back slate. And if it carries on throughout the next 2 weeks, Jahmyr Gibbs, you're looking at, like you said, a top 5 drafted running back, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And it is worrying times for me as a Monty owner in a final next week. But he's pretty much his backfield now, and he reminds me so much of Alvin Kamara. He does everything, and the offense works perfectly for him. So I think he could well be, not far behind McCaffrey in being drafted next year. Just the amount of usage that he'll get, in both the running game and passing game. So yeah, he's looking good, and I'm sure, as I said, he'll be on everyone's list next year.
Yeah, Bish, takes through your second breakout.
Another running back, I've got Breece Hall here. 37.1 points this week, 95 on the ground, 96 receiving, 2 touchdowns and 12 receptions. And to be honest, I've been waiting for some games like this from Breece Hall. I had high expectations of him. Coming off an ACL last year, bit of a slow start in what we know is a pretty poor offense. So. To get it at this back end of the year, again, looking towards next season, I'm excited. He's a one I'll definitely be targeting early, because he's so explosive. Some big runs. One of his touchdowns was like, he was like an acrobat. He dived, his feet was over the sideline. He reached out and got the ball over the pylon. So it's just great to watch, and a player that I'm definitely looking forward to next year.
I think they do say, don't they, when you get an ACL, it normally takes at least half the season to get fully into it. I don't know the science, don't know the exact reasons why. Maybe you do, Bish, as a player yourself, but yeah, it's one that it definitely takes a while, and you're finally seeing the best of him. It's been, as you said, he's been handed such a tough slate this year anyway, that I'm just happy to see him have a good game. Fantasy aside, he's probably not on many people's fantasy final list, but I'm sure if you're a Jets fan or someone who's followed Breece Hall over the years, you're very happy for him, because it's about time he has a few big games. And that offensive, I think it should have been handed to him a lot earlier. They kept whenever I've seen the Jets, they actually throw it quite a few times. They tried to play this other offense. I would have just put it in Breece Hall's hands, let him go, played a very slow Atlanta Falcons style of football, and then gone from there. But they seem to give Zach Wilson the keys a bit too early, I think, rather than just playing it up. But the offensive, I'm saying that the offensive line's been that bad, actually. That's been really tough for him. So Jets have got some things to figure out clearly with me going back and forth here. But yeah, happy for him.
Yeah, I think it is a mixture of what you just said there. The O-line's been bad, and early on they brought in Dalvin Cook to sort of offset his workload a little bit, bring him in back slowly from the ACL. And I did my ACL. I think a lot of it is just getting used to back running again, cutting. Obviously, it's a lot more explosive in the NFL to rugby league and what I do, and probably that first month is all confidence. Taking knocks on your knee and knowing that your knee's still stable and able to carry on doing it. So I think it bodes well next year. Like you said, if they can fix that O-line, the defense will certainly keep him in games and keep games tight, which allows him to get plenty of carries. And potentially we see Aaron Rodgers behind centre, which obviously will help that offense.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think they need to draft a few offensive linemen first, or Rodgers. We could see Rodgers having a very poor season himself, because it's been that bad at times, where they definitely need to. That needs to be the priority in the off season, with Rodgers probably having one year left at it before he retires. I'll take you through my second play of the week. your man of the season. You're a Rams fan, Bish, so I should really have let you cover him, but I'm diving in there and I'm stealing the thunder. Punt Nakua, another 28.5 fantasy points. What a player. He actually had 2 carries in the game for 16 yards, 9 receptions, 164 yards, and a touchdown, Bish. And he's, what a player he's been for this year, especially that you're picking him up from waiver wires. You could probably speak more of him because you've had him this year. He nearly got you into final, other than one poor week from some of your other specialty positions. You would have beat me, and we'd probably be seeing Punt Nakua going into a final with how many points you scored, Bish. So take us a bit more into him.
Yeah, that's the one sort of low game he had was that game against you, which I needed a big one from him. But I think now he's pretty much taken over as the wide receiver one for the Rams. You know, Cook's struggling with a few knocks, but I think next season going in, he's the wide receiver one for the team. And like you said there, he just can do pretty much everything. He plays in the slot beginning of the season. He's out wide now. He's a big body. He's fast. He's in the backfield taking carries, you know. So they're using him everywhere. A bit of a Swiss Army knife, as I like to say. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can produce next year. Obviously, you know, he might be in that bigger wide receiver now. He might get teams sort of cornerback one, you know, attention. He might get all the focus on him when game planning. But you know, I like to see what he can do in an offense. What Sean McVay keeps things interesting and keeps switching it up. So it'll be interesting to see how much he can progress.
Yeah, it will be. And I guess some honourable mentions out there, Bish. We've got Derrick Henry having another good game. Justin Fields at quarterback. We've also got Chris Olave, like I said, beating me. I'm a bit so, and CD Lamb. What a season he's had. Just thought I'd have a couple. There were a couple of good names, which I don't know if you've got any I've missed out there.
I've mentioned Flacco, but I'll mention George Pickens. You know, he had a big game. You know, he's got a bit of hammer for his lack of effort at times, but he caught 2 sort of slants and took them all the way. 2 touchdowns. He only had 4 receptions, but 195 yards. So he came up big in a couple of situations.
That wide receiver room at Pittsburgh have got some things to figure out, haven't they? Because they've so much talent there, but at times there's been more highlights than I've seen on any other team of them not giving effort, them getting argumentative. They've definitely got some things to figure out. I wonder whether that's the head coach or maybe the wide receiver coach or the QB combination. There's something not quite right there, but have they all got talent? Yes, is George Pickens a very good wide receiver when he wants to be or when he's zoned in? I think that'd be one of my storylines going into next year, Bish. What that can they turn that Pittsburgh wide receiver room into something that it really should be, as in one of the top in the NFL?
Yeah, all talented, and Mason Rudolph has actually been given the start this week as well with Kenny Pickett back fit. So that's another situation, the quarterback to look at there as well.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I missed that one, Bish. So over the Christmas period, I missed that storyline. So I'm happy you got that. That's sad for Kenny Pickett. He's definitely struggled the last couple of weeks, hasn't he? And all season long, really. I can't say all season long he's struggled. That play you saw at LSU, that dynamic runner, someone who play off the cuff. He's just not been. I don't know if the offense really allows him to do that, and I think that's what you need. He looks very stifled when he plays. He looks nervous when he plays. I think either he gets traded or there has to be some sort of trade off there and let him play and let him express himself a bit more.
Yeah, one to look at. It'll be interesting. Like you said, they've just sacked their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada.
Yeah.
So you know they're a few games into a new sort of way of playing, sort of thing. So we'll see how that progresses in the off season.
Yeah, a few stories. We'll have to do a show of the off-season storylines upcoming, because I think there's plenty with how this season's gone. But on to the next section. I'll stop ranting. We've got the punts projects. So the waiver wire pickups. if you're in the final, let's say you've got TJ Hawkinson getting you there, or any of the other injuries that we mentioned earlier on, hopefully we've got some options for you. So Bish, take us away.
My waiver wire pickup is Zamir White this week. He's owned 34% in sleeper leagues, and the last 2 weeks he's been playing in place of Josh Jacobs, who's been out injured. He's racked up 16 points, and then the weekend just gone, he's put up 14.5 points against the Chiefs, and he had a big game, 145 yards on 22 carries, with a long right at the end of 45 yards. He picked up some big first downs when they needed to churn the clock. So very much game script dependent in this week. They've built up a lead on the Chiefs and just allowed them to run the ball. But he's looking good. He comes up next week against the Falcons, who gave up 177 rushing yards against the Colts last week. So potentially some points to be had there on the ground. If you're a Josh Jacob owner and you've handcuffed and you've got Zamir White, you're not looking too bad here, because either way, I think you can be up for some good yards against the Falcons.
Yeah, I think the key part is what talent aside of Zamir White is that he got every rep, didn't he? When Josh Jacobs got injured, he had every rep. He was a 3-down back, and however good you are, that normally relates to what you spoke about a few times, which is a very high floor. So hopefully, I think he'll be a very good pickup and a safe pickup with what we saw of when he played. So hopefully, he does a job for anyone who may need him this late into the year. I'll take you through my one. It's the tight end position, most important one in fantasy, I believe, because it's so tough to find one. I've got the tight end 14. It's Hunter Henry. He actually missed last week, so if he's ruled out again this week, I do apologise for all people watching for a tight end streamer. So I'll get that in early. But he's had his good parts. He's been tight end 3 and he's been a tight end 1, a tight end 2, and tight end 3 for 2 weeks before his injury. So I think, can he come in? Can he play? Hopefully, can he do a job? Certainly. He has his terrible weeks. He either seems to have one catch or a few touchdowns. Very touchdown dependent, I'd say. But he's had his good points this year, Bish, and I think there's much worse streamers out there. If like you said, you're struggling at tight end, or you had Hawkinson going into the final, get your Hunter Henry. Hope for that touchdown, because he has provided plenty of times this year already.
Yeah, I just got up his stats here for like you just said there. The last 2 games, he missed last week, but the last 2 games he's had 17 and 16 points, and 1 touchdown against the Chiefs and 2 against the Steelers. So he's definitely looking like one of Bailey Zappi's favourite targets at the minute, especially in that end zone. So yeah, definitely. You've covered it in a position that is pretty much tight end touchdown dependent. If you've not got one of the big boys, he's certainly provided touchdowns recently. So yeah, a good one to pick up if you need him.
Brilliant. And then the best part of the show, our favourites, the punters, the men who get no love, the best kicker of the week. I'll take you through mine. I've got Jason Sanders of the Miami Dolphins, went 5 for 5 on field goals, hit 150 plus, 2 between 30 and 39. Yeah, brilliant kicker. I think they've relied on him at times. Miami, they've got high-powered offense, but don't sometimes have the biggest bodies. Very reliant on their running backs getting the touchdowns. If that doesn't pay off, Jason Sanders has been Mr. Consistent. Got a big leg on him, and fair play to a great year, Mr. Sanders, and another great week.
Lovely, yeah. I'll just add on to that. My kickers, I like them kicking game-winning field goals, and Sanders done that, and my guy done that as well. Greg the leg, I think you've brought him up before, but Greg Zerloin for the Jets, 14 points he's racked up, 3 extra points, 3 field goals, and a 54-yarder with 10 seconds left in the game to win the game against the Commanders. So he's very reliable, and if you do have him on your team, you've got yourself some nice points there as well.
Greg the leg deserves a shout out every year. One of the oldest kickers in the league. Been on quite a few teams now, as we've said before. So fair play to Greg. The leg's still doing it in his older age. There's no stopping him. I think that covers most of it, Bish. So take us away. Give us your final thoughts on this week, on the finals. Give us what you know, and we'll have it's been a good show.
It has, yeah. Please subscribe, pass on to a friend, like. We've got a fantasy award show as well that we've spoke about. So if you've not seen that, jump on and see that. For those listening to us on Spotify, please leave a review. That'll help us tremendously as we look to keep improving and keep progressing throughout the season and going forward. Good luck to those in your championship finals this week. And in the punt, good luck to Tag and good luck to Crimesy. May the best punt team win and get your name inscribed on the first trophy, the inaugural Punt Fantasy League. So good luck to that, and potentially next week we could have a show with a champion on, depending on when we film. Obviously, we usually film on Mondays. That will be New Year's Day. New Year's Day. So it might be a couple of days after that. So give the winner a chance to recover from the celebrations of winning the league.
Brilliant. Good luck, lads. Thank you, Bish, and I will see you a couple of days after New Year's for us all to recover. So have a good one and enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you.